Hi, this is Wayne Johnson with Anglers Habitat here in Caldwell, Idaho. You can find us at www.anglershabitat.com. Today we're going to be talking about Abel reels and Abel accessories. So this is going to be Abel 101. We're not only going to talk about the quick change, we're going to talk about the Super Series, we're going to talk about the Trout Series, and we're going to talk accessories. And I've got a special guest here with me all the way from Bozeman, Montana. He drove through the freezing rain to get here. This is Skip Gibson. Hello, Skip. How you
Hi,
doing?
Mr. Wayne. How are you?
Good to see you. And Skip's been so kind to lend his services to talk about the products that he reps and that I personally believe are the finest fly reels in the world. And what makes me feel that way is that, as you know, we have our rod and reel trade-up program. I get these reels in 15 and 20 years old, and folks, they're as good as the day they came out of the factory, between the drags, between the finish, because in my opinion it's the best finish in the business. The anodization is just the best. Now, a couple things about the reels we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the double paw versus the single paw. We're going to talk about changing drags. We're going to talk about changing spools with the quick change. We're going to talk about the different finishes that are available, and we just have a small sampling of the finishes here. We've got the Borsky limited edition, we got the Trout, we got the Cutthroat, we got the Tarpon. We just got a little bit of everything. So without further ado, we're going to get started. First of all, this is a reel right here. This is the Super 6-in, and what we're going to talk about is the double paw feature. Right here, you'll see right here and right there are your two paws. And of course, this is your drag right here, your cork drag, and the gear that gives you your little click and stops it from going the wrong direction. Now, one thing I discovered is this is extremely easy to change. If you do wear your cork out, which is probably not going to happen, but all you have to do is take this little O-ring off and pop this little thing right out, and you can just get a new one of those from your local dealer. Just give them a call. We just did it for a customer this weekend, not because it was worn out, because he had the old big game series that only went one direction. It would only be left or right. In this case, it was right. He wanted it left. We got him the conversion kit, and guess what? Now it'll go either direction, because the new one will let it go either direction. So if you want to change this from right to left, what you got to do is take that little screw out there, that little screw out there, flip these paws to go the opposite direction, put it back together, and guess what? You've just changed the direction of the reel. It's not very difficult. We're going to go ahead and show you here real quick. Doing okay with it, Skip?
You're doing good.
Hey, and if I miss anything, Skip will be sure to let me know. Okay. Let's see if we can get this thing back together. Yeah, I think this thing's defective, Skip.
It's always on camera.
There you go. There you go. Anyway, and there's the little drag knob right there, and we'll put the drag knob on there, and you'll see this little nut right there, and you just take the nut off, like so, with a dime. That's why I've got the dime right there. And you undo this like so. By the way, do this where you feel very comfortable. You don't want to be dropping parts or anything. Take it apart. That exposes your drag right there. Exposes your two paws. And by the way, if you want to know if it's a single paw or a double paw, you can actually look at the reel without taking it apart. Just move your ported spool to look at the two paws.
And it will also have these two pins on the back of the frame.
You know what? That's even a better idea. Two pins behind the frame. That's why we have Skip with us here today, is because Skip's going to tell me that.
And while we're taking the reels apart here, Wayne, this is the newest of the reels in the Super Series. This is the new 7/8-in, and this just happens to be in the beautiful bonefish fish graphic. And many of you, you've always heard that when you go to the saltwater, you should clean your reel. Most of the lodges you go to, they all have a freshwater bath. You lay your rod and your reel in at the end of each day, or they have freshwater hose. And you don't need to just really pressurize your reel to get it clean. All you have to do is just kind of flush it, dip it in, and then when you get home, just like Wayne was showing you here, you take that little cap nut off, and all that cap nut is to keep the drag knob on the reel. So you take that off, and when I clean my reels, I take everything apart. I draw a real hot tub of water like in your sink, and I use like Dawn or Ivory dishwashing detergent, and that's all you need. Because with all the porting, all the lightweightness now, there's lots of opportunity for salt water to get in here and dry, and then that's where the corrosion begins. We have a lot less of that with Abel's because, as Wayne did say, these are the finest anodized reels in the business today. Nobody anodizes and gets the deep finish colors like Abel does. So when I have my my hot water drawn, I just lay all these parts right in there, and then I take like an old toothbrush, and I use lots of paper towels, and that's really all you need. And just take everything apart, set it in there, clean it all up, and do a real hot water rinse, and pretty much they'll just dry, and you don't even need to polish them with a rag or anything.
You know, and one thing is important here, and Skip's really touching on it. You have a trip of a lifetime. You've just hooked the fish of a lifetime. You want your equipment to perform well. And you don't want to put your equipment at a disadvantage by not cleaning it properly, not taking care of it properly. So even though these reels are the best reels on the market, and there's other fine reels out there, if you don't take care of your reels and your equipment, they're going to fail. We don't want that to happen. So this point is well taken, and please listen, because we want this equipment to last you a lifetime, and we want that lifetime fish to be in the picture. We don't want it to break the rod because you're having problems or the reel fails. So,
and then people are always asking me, what do I do to really keep the reel in top performance shape? And essentially on the cork, all we need to do is add 3 or 4 drops of neat's foot oil. For all you outdoorsmen out there, that's the oil that everybody uses on their leather shoes. Just put 3 or 4 drops on your cork plate, move it around with your finger, and if there's any excess, just damp it up with paper towel. And then the reason an Abel is an Abel, there are 2 sealed bearings on each side of the spool. So when it's rotating on the shaft screw, there's no torque, there's no pressure on any part. All that's going down is this flat surface of the back of the spool is engaging the cork drag plate, and the tighter you draw down the drag knob, the tighter that spool is coming on the cork plate, and therefore your drag is engaging.
you know, I get the question about, well, how does that cork drag hold up? Like I said, we've gotten these reels back 20 years old on trade-ups, and the cork is just like the day it came from the factory, folks. Yeah. That cork is amazingly durable. And, you know, one other thing, too, is that...
well, I can just back that up. I started with Abel in 1992.
That's a long time, folks.
And the originator of these reels, Steve Abel, I called Steve on the phone. I knew of Steve, and I said, hey, I'm going on a tarpon trip to Florida, and I want to buy one of your original number 4, which was the tarpon reel back then.
And Big Game 4, was it?
Big Game number 4, which is the Super 10 frame in today's world. Right. And that reel I purchased in 1992. It's still got the same drag cork plate on it. All you have to do is just look after these and keep them clean and lubricate it with the neat's foot oil.
Yeah. One point I wanted to make, which I kind of hesitated to make a second ago, and Skip was so kind to bail me out, was I want to talk a little bit about those bearings inside your spool. You know, one thing I've noticed about reels, if the reel is not a good reel, you'll get that pulsating action from either you'll have a problem with the reel or it won't be working smoothly, and that pulsating creates problems with your tippets and your leaders and such. That gets rid of it. This thing is as smooth as, I mean, smooth, and it comes off, there's no pulsating, it comes off, it's naturally, that cork drag is very, very smooth. And, you know, folks can try to create any kind of drag they want, but you just can't beat that cork drag. Another nice thing about it, it just doesn't build up heat. And in the fishing business, heat causes problems, causes failures. So that's another reason why we're a big Abel supporter here at Anglers Habitat. So, yeah.
There's a lot of discussion in the fishing world about closed drag systems. Uh, I can tell you that that's about as open as you can get. Therefore, by being open, if something should ever happen, you can fix this
Definitely.
right now.
Definitely.
And trust me, if you go on any steelhead trip, any saltwater trip, there's going to be other guys with Abels. So there's always an opportunity to get some help from somebody else. Maybe not so with other manufacturers, but the thing about the open cork drag system, let's say you do catch a bonefish of a lifetime and you are forced to lay your rod down on the sand or in the water, and let's say a grain of sand or two gets in there, all you have to do is loosen the drag knob a little bit and you can just kind of raise this off of the frame and flush it right there. You don't even have to take the reel apart.
Definitely. And yeah, that's exactly right. And Skip makes that point. You don't have to take the reel apart. You just go ahead and rinse it a little bit. Another problem I've had with people, especially steelhead fishing right now, we're in the middle of January, and guess what, folks? We have icing problems. And I've had other manufacturers, people bring the reels in, and the drag's iced up. And the drag's failed them. And remember we were talking about that pulsating action. Well, if you have ice in your drag and that reel's pulsating, you're causing unnecessary pressure on your leaders and your tippets. You're going to have fish coming off. That will not happen on this reel. It's all open. It's constantly cleaning itself. It's constantly self-lubricating itself. So the beautiful thing is that just won't happen. Please forgive the phone. We've left a phone in here someplace. They'll get it here pretty quick. Anyway,
1-800-FISH.
That's right, 1-800-FISH. Don't really call that number because you won't get us.
We don't know who that is.
But yeah, and Skip's going to talk a little bit about the quick change reel too. It's basically got the same drag, but it's definitely got a little nicer feature. It's much easier to change the spool on that reel than having to take it apart. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to get that together. We're also going to talk about Abel accessories. We don't have them all out here today, but we do have some. And again, the nice thing about Abel, you look at any Abel product, I don't care what it is. We received recently an old Abel 10-weight fly rod, and it had been used a number of times for tarpon fishing down in the Caribbean. And what I was amazed about when I got that rod and the case was the quality. The case was just top notch. You looked at the case and you knew whatever was inside that was really a quality product. And I took the rod out, we waxed the rod down, and looked brand new. It's the same way with their baggage. You look at an Abel bag, which I don't think they make anymore, but you look at an Abel bag, it's quality. Skip was so kind to bring these little nippers here with us, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. And I look at it, and here's a machine screw on this side. There's no riveting or anything like that. There's a machine screw there, and you've got your another machine screw there. And then, I mean, this thing is just awesome.
Here, Wayne, I've got some 50-pound mono, kind of like shock tippet, and just go ahead and nip that, and you'll just see how.
Okay, well, we're going to we'll see how much pressure it takes. Well, let's get away from there.
Need those glasses?
Just kidding. Look at that, folks. I was just kidding about that. Look at that. Well, let's get this again for view of the camera there. Just put it in there like that. Finger, index finger. Just like that. That is amazing. And the other thing is beautiful too. This is their, is this a German brown graphic there?
That's the new brown trout graphic.
Brown trout graphic. Just amazing. How they can do this anodization like this is just amazing. It's got the Abel logo hidden in there, kind of camouflaged, but it's it's sitting right out there, obvious. And you got your little clip there to put on your zinger, and it just really finely made. What's the retail on this thing?